So I see a lot of videos on strategies in relationship, like what roles each partner ought to play, how people should treat each other in relationship, expectations, etc. And while I think this can be helpful eventually, I also think it's putting the cart before the horse. If we start at the premise that most people are in varying degrees of emotional repression, because it's true, what we're saying is people are already unconsciously employing relationship strategies. If you're in anger repression, your strategy is to hold back and cling to anger to try to get what you want or need. If you're in hurt and sadness repression, it's to hold back hurt and sadness in order to do the same. And I'll just tell you, that is the main source of suffering in relationships. Not the lack of strategy, but the existence of strategy. If a human in a relationship had the ability to feel and express what was true for them at the deepest level, and the ability to allow the other in the relationship to feel and express what was true for them at the deepest level, which means both parties would be out of emotional repression, there wouldn't be much suffering in relationship. They say communication and honesty are key to a successful relationship, and I think that's true if we're talking about communication of feelings and emotional honesty. There's a misunderstanding that a lot of us have that expressing what you think and believe is what honesty is. But the problem with that is much of what we think and believe is a product of what we're not feeling and expressing. For instance, if one partner in the relationship has been repressing anger for their entire lives leading up to this relationship, since their anger has never really been heard or seen by themselves or anyone else, they've likely developed an identity, which is like a deep core belief that says, I'm unheard or I'm unseen. So when it happens that they're honest about that in relationship and say something to their partner like, you never hear me or you never see me, it's less true than if they were to say, I'm angry that no one's ever seen me or heard me, right? That would be emotional honesty. And this is why we say that most of your current suffering in relationship is likely mom and dad stuff, right? Or when you're hysterical, it's historical. Because people's identities and the buried repressed emotions that created, drive, and sustain them got locked into place in their bodies in childhood, right? And people still haven't resolved them. So it all shows up in present relationship thanks to emotional repression. Now, another big miss that I see in the spiritual self-help and therapeutic paradigms is this. There's a lot of emphasis and strategies around both needing others to be safe and needing to be safe for others. Here's what I'd say about this. That is the whole problem to begin with. In childhood, we began to bury and repress emotions in order to stay safe and in order to keep others safe. And this is why codependency is so rampant in human relationships, because we learn at a young age that we have to suffer both to get our needs met and to meet others' needs, which is putting the cart before the horse, yeah? I love what Eckhart Tolle says. Relationships aren't here to make you happy, they're here to make you conscious, right? They're here to wake you up out of codependency. They're here to bring you out of emotional repression. And that's what makes you happy, right? That's putting the horse before the cart. Basically, anything that we do outside of resolving emotional repression is an attempt to manage the symptoms of emotional repression. So if you've had enough of the failed attempts at suffering management, come resolve it at the link in the bio.